Intersys is a major employer and pacesetter company for the United Way of Ellis County. Each year, Intersys encourages all their employees to engage in different fundraising events in the community to benefit United Way agencies. Additional community involvement includes food drives for the local food bank, Adopt a Spot cleanup, and participation in numerous local civic organizations. Intersys, a great place to work, a partner of the community.
The United Way of Ellis County on Eagle Community Television is brought to you by Intersys, Hayes Med, Insurance Planning Incorporated, and Eagle Communications.
Jason Rao, Executive Director of the United Way, with you again today to meet another high-impact program supported through your donations to the United Way. But before we meet our agency, I wanted to just take a minute to say thank you for helping us meet our goal. And now that the new year has switched over, we have started all of our programs, and we are well underway to helping this year's clients in need.
I'm Dave Jones. I'm the Executive Director of United Cerebral Palsy of Kansas, and change starts here.
Dave, thanks for joining us today. I tell you what, why don't we start with, why don't you just tell us about UCP as a whole, the whole organization?
UCP is part of a national organization. It was founded back in the early 1950s, and United Cerebral Palsy of Kansas was started in 1953 by a group of parents who essentially were trying to raise enough money to pay therapy costs for their handicapped kids. That's back before there was a special ed mandate, and handicapped kids were essentially on their own. Over the years, we've grown quite a bit. We've developed some programs, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But we are a statewide organization, and we touch all corners of the state.
What exactly is cerebral palsy?
Actually, cerebral palsy isn't a disease. We call it a condition. It simply means that a person at some point in time has acquired some type of damage to the brain. And depending on where that damage occurs, it can range from a very mild problem like a speech impediment to a very severely disabling condition where a person can be in a wheelchair. It can be associated with seizures, mental retardation, all kinds of things. Probably the thing that sets us apart from other health organizations is the fact that there's nothing contagious or progressive about cerebral palsy. So essentially, we've got folks that have a neuronormal life expectancy that are relegated to a condition for which currently there isn't a cure.
Sure, and you also help individuals with other disabilities, right?
Oh, we help folks with all kinds of disabilities. Actually, only about a third of the folks we help have cerebral palsy. We help folks with mental retardation, spina bifida, MS, MD, autism. Our programs were designed with cerebral palsy in mind, but we haven't excluded other disabilities simply because they didn't have cerebral palsy.
Sure. And I understand you have really kind of two companies that are joined together. So why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Well, we had an organizational expansion back in the 1970s because one of the things we wanted to do was we wanted to provide competitive employment for our folks. If you're looking at a lifelong disability, you were looking at independent living opportunities, competitive employment, and the kind of support services that allow you to keep your loved ones at home and not end up in nursing homes. And one of the first things we did was we started a working relationship with the engineering department at Wichita State University, and we got into rehab engineering, which quite simply is looking at folks and seeing what they've got that works best and using engineering and technology, trying to develop job stations for those folks that allowed them to compete with the able-bodied in a regular work environment. And so one of the first programs we developed was a company called Center Industries Corporation. And we currently manufacture all the license tags for the state of Kansas. We do window assemblies for Boeing. We do lots of different kinds of products. The neat thing about Center Industries is all our clients make at least minimum wage or higher. They get a complete fringe benefit package program. There are about 200 employees now at Center Industries, and I think this year they'll give close to $35,000 to United Way themselves through payroll deduction.
Well, thank you guys very much. And I understand you guys also do housing, is that right?
We have a housing project. It's called the Timbers. It's a 100-unit HUD housing complex. We've got folks from across the state. In fact, only about a third of the folks at the Timbers come from Sedgwick County. So it is a statewide organization, and we've had several folks from the Hayes area and a number of folks from northwest Kansas that have moved to Wichita and moved into the Timbers. Some of those folks actually learned how to take care of themselves, essentially learned how to manage their personal care attendants, learned how to do their medications. They didn't necessarily have to be able to do it physically, but they had to be able to do it cognitively. And as a result, we're able to finally move back into their own home community and set up their own support system. And for others at the Timbers, we are probably as least restrictive a placement as they're going to find. And for those folks, we're going to be a long-term placement for them. I wouldn't call it a placement. It's an independent living center. It's a long-term living situation for those folks that need that level of support service.
Well, that's great. You know, I know one of the questions that people are going to be wondering, since you are a statewide organization, what happens to the dollars that come out of Ellis County? Are they kept here, or do they go across the state?
Actually, we generally spend a lot more money on folks in Ellis County than we receive from United Way. And that's one of the things that we do a lot of is help families figure out how to get assistive technology. That's things like van lifts, accessible transportation, power wheelchairs, communication devices, home modifications, those kinds of things. We do our best to try to help families figure out everything they might be eligible for. We've got a very simple one-page application form, and we can pretty much look at that and determine where else they might be able to go without having them ping pong from agency to agency. But because with some of this stuff, it takes 3 or 4 agencies to get enough money together to pay for a $6,000 lift for a van, sure, or a $10,000 wheelchair. Even if families have good insurance, for instance, on things like power wheelchairs, a $10,000 power wheelchair, usually they've got a 20% copay, which is $2,000 to $3,000. And so those United Way dollars help us leverage enough funds. They help us put together funding packages and allows us to help those families get the equipment that isn't necessarily covered by insurance or Medicaid or Medicare.
Sure. And I understand that one of the items that your agency sort of specializes in are these specialty wheelchair seats for wheelchairs, right?
That's correct. We have a statewide clinic. In fact, with any luck, we're going to be moving that clinic or a part of that clinic into the Hayes area here this summer. We're trying to expand and have some satellites. But the seating clinic is really kind of neat. We are very concerned about our kids not developing curvature of the spine or scoliosis. We're also very concerned about them not developing pressure sores. Sure. I think the average cost of a pressure sore for a Medicare patient is somewhere in the neighborhood of $40,000. And besides the money, you can imagine being flat on your stomach for months while you're trying to get your pressure sores to heal up. You know, you can end up having skin grafts and all kinds of problems. So we actually have some very sophisticated kinds of equipment that allow us to actually build a custom molded seat. We have a kind of a beanbag thing, and we put the client in it, get them in the position the therapist wants them in. Actually put a pressure or a vacuum hose on this beanbag chair, and it makes a kind of a reverse mold. We scan that with the computer, send it to a company back east, and they send us a custom molded seat. We then have another, it's a pressure sensing device. You've seen some of the commercials for beds where they show you the pressure sensing device as well. We've been doing that for years with one of those. When we get the client back, we put them in the chair that we've manufactured, and it reads like a weather screen. It shows red if there's too much pressure in the spot, green if it's okay, and we can actually look and see where the issues might occur, and we can put in a softer foam there or make sure that weight's dispersed evenly so those folks don't end up with a pressure sore. Beyond that, it's also, if you can imagine spending 24 hours a day in a wheelchair, we want to make sure our folks are comfortable. Sure. And posture seating also helps aid with swallowing and breathing and just all kinds of things simply as a result of sitting up and being correctly postured. Sure.
And I know that you are not just part of our United Way, but you belong to different United Ways all across the state. So what sort of advantage do you get from being a United Way agency?
It's unbelievable. For one thing, I think last year on our 990, which is our nonprofit income tax return, our administrative and fundraising costs combined were less than 10%, which is a lot of health organizations our size are lucky if they're under 25%. So, but that's one of the, and we're in about 30 United Ways and community chests around the state. Another nice advantage to us being a United Way member agency, it's kind of like that good housing seal of approval, and we can use that United Way logo there on your shirt. It shows folks that we've been scrutinized. That there's volunteers, they've determined what the need is, they know that we meet the need, they've looked over our budgets with a fine-tooth comb, they know we're not paying excessive salaries, they know that we're meeting the needs, we're getting positive outcomes. So that's another kind of a real positive for us, is just being able to say that we're a United Way member agency.
Well, we're definitely glad to have you. And I know you are a high-packed agency, and there are a lot of good things you do in our community. What's the best way for somebody to find out more information or to get a hold of you?
They can call us. Our phone number is 316-652-1538. If they can't remember that, they can call Rachel, and she'll give them our number, I'm sure. We have a website for United Cerebral Palsy. It's just ucpks.org, like United Cerebral Palsy Kansas.org. We also have another website, which is called mychildwithoutlimits.org. And it's a wonderful website. It's put together by our national organization. It not only has information about cerebral palsy, it has information about autism, about Asperger's, about spina bifida, just all kinds of things. You can go in there and you can see what's new in terms of therapeutic techniques, what's new in terms of technology. You can find links to other websites for other health organizations. You can find out how to get into support groups. It's really a neat website. Again, that's mychildwithoutlimits.org.
The United Way of Ellis County on Eagle Community Television is brought to you by Intersys, Hayes Med, Insurance Planning Incorporated, and Eagle Communications.
Choosing the right home may take months. Decorating it perfectly may take years. Leaving it every day just takes complete confidence in both your home and auto insurance.
Allied Homeowners and Auto Insurance, a nationwide company, on your side.
See Sue May at Insurance Planning, 3006 Broadway in Hayes. As a major employer and paysetter company, Hayes Med leads the way in United Way support each year. Community involvement for Hayes Med also takes many other forms, from monthly blood screenings to providing free drive-through flu vaccinations to helping citizens be healthier through the Kickstart Weight Loss Program. Hayes Med remains unwavering in support of the local and regional communities it serves. That is one constant on which everyone can rely. Hayes Med, a constant in our community.